She was the big sister America thought they knew, the girl next door who made audiences believe she truly cared for her adopted TV brothers on Diff'rent Strokes. Pretty, but approachable. Famous, but relatable. A teenager who seemed to embody innocence and warmth, but behind Dana Plato's smile was a life far more fragile than the sitcom fantasy she lived on screen. She wasn't just playing a role, she was trying to survive one, because long before the world knew her as Kimberly Drummond, Dana had already experienced loss, rejection, and instability. And when the cameras stopped rolling, her story unraveled into scandal, desperation, and tragedy, so shocking that even her most loyal fans still struggle to accept how it all ended. So, how did a child star so beloved fall into darkness so deep? How did Hollywood's golden girl become a symbol of its cruelest failures? And why, in her final hours, did she leave behind questions that still haunt her legacy today? This is the untold, tragic story of Dana Plato. Dana Michelle Strain entered the world in 1964 in Maywood, California. Her mother was just a teenager, unwed, and already struggling to raise another child. She couldn't give Dana the life she deserved. And so, before her first birthday, Dana was placed for adoption. Dean and Kay Plato, a young couple who wanted a family of their own, took her in and gave her their name. But even this new beginning wasn't permanent. By the time Dana was 3, her adoptive parents divorced. Her father disappeared from her life, and Dana was left with her mother, Kay. It was a fractured start, a childhood marked by uncertainty. But even in that chaos, Dana had something special, a beauty that felt approachable, a spirit that drew people in, and a talent that caught the attention of Hollywood. Before she even understood what fame meant, her mother signed her up for auditions, commercials, small appearances, and little by little, Dana became more than just another California kid. She became a child of the industry. But the same industry that gave her a chance would one day take everything away. By the late 1970s, television was looking for something new, something wholesome, but modern. NBC was betting on a quirky sitcom about a wealthy white man who adopts 2 African-American boys from Harlem. The premise was bold, even controversial, but it needed the right balance. Enter Dana Plato. She was cast as Kimberly Drummond, the sweet, compassionate big sister who helped bridge 2 worlds. Dana wasn't just believable in the role, she was the role. She radiated kindness, relatability, and just enough teenage sass to keep audiences hooked. From 1978 to 1986, Diff'rent Strokes became a household staple. Families tuned in weekly to see Gary Coleman's catchphrase, "What you talkin' about, Willis?" and to watch Dana's warmth ground the show's zanier moments. But behind the scenes, Dana was still just a teenager, growing up under the brightest lights in Hollywood, surrounded by cameras, agents, contracts, and very little guidance. The industry celebrated her beauty, but ignored her fragility. And while fans saw Kimberly as a stable, loving sister, Dana's real life was unraveling in ways no one could script. By season 6, reality intruded. Dana became pregnant at just 18 years old. For her, it was life-changing. For the producers, it was a problem. The wholesome Kimberly couldn't be seen with a baby bump. So instead of embracing Dana's reality, the writers wrote her out. Her character left for school, returning only in guest spots after Dana gave birth to her son Tyler. It was a turning point. The show that had made her a star now pushed her aside. The role that gave her identity suddenly evaporated. And while her castmates Gary Coleman and Todd Bridges found ways to stay in the spotlight, Dana's career began slipping away. She was no longer America's big sister. She was a young mother, unemployed, and quickly realizing that Hollywood moves on without mercy. And with each passing year, Dana sank deeper into survival mode. The years after Diff'rent Strokes were cruel, Her marriage crumbled, ending in divorce. Even worse, she lost custody of her only son. For Dana, motherhood had been her one lifeline, the one identity she could hold on to. Losing it devastated her. She found herself working in a Las Vegas laundromat, a former television star, folding clothes and cleaning machines. Strangers who recognized her were stunned, not by arrogance, but by her humility. She smiled. She worked hard. She did whatever it took to earn a living. But behind that resilience was pain. Hollywood had discarded her. The media mocked her decline, and the loneliness of obscurity pressed down like a weight she couldn't lift. The breaking point came in 1991. That year, Dana made a decision so shocking it left the nation in disbelief. She walked into a Las Vegas video store and robbed it. Not for thousands, not for riches. She walked away with less than $200. It wasn't about the money. It was about desperation, about pain so deep she couldn't express it any other way. Some called it a cry for help. Others called it a collapse. But either way, Dana's mugshot became the headline. The girl next door America loved was now a criminal in the tabloids. It should have been the end. But then, out of nowhere, a savior appeared. Wayne Newton, Mr. Las Vegas himself, stepped in. He posted her bail. He offered her kindness, guidance, and maybe even a second chance. For a moment it seemed like Dana might rise again, but the climb back into the light would be steep, and her demons were waiting. After jail, Dana refused to disappear. She found work in B-movies. She posed for Playboy. She even starred in the controversial video game Night Trap, which became infamous in the early 1990s for its edgy content. Critics mocked her choices, but to Dana it was survival. She took whatever job she could. She worked hard, even if the projects weren't glamorous. It was her way of fighting back, of proving she wasn't gone yet. But Hollywood is ruthless. Every move Dana made was scrutinized, criticized, and used as proof of her fall from grace. No matter how hard she tried, the spotlight never softened, and every step forward seemed to drag her 2 steps back. What fans didn't know was that behind her determination, Dana was still battling private wars, addiction, depression, and a growing sense that she would never escape her path. By the late 1990s, Dana's story had become a cautionary tale. Gary Coleman, her on-screen brother, was also struggling. Todd Bridges faced legal battles of his own. The Diff'rent Strokes curse became a whispered Hollywood phrase, but Dana's life took the cruelest turn of all. On May 7, 1999, she appeared on The Howard Stern Show. It was raw, emotional, heartbreaking. Dana spoke openly about her struggles, her arrests, her addictions, her failures. Millions listened as she bared her soul in real time. Some heard strength, others heard desperation, but no one could have predicted what would happen next. The very next day, May 8, 1999, Dana Plato was gone. She was just 34 years old. At first, reports called it an overdose, but later, the truth settled like a shadow. It was a probable suicide, a decision made after years of pain, struggle, and rejection. Her son, Tyler, was left without a mother. Fans were left in shock, and Hollywood was left with yet another tragic reminder of how its brightest stars are often the most fragile. And then the heartbreak deepened. Tyler Lambert, Dana's son, would later take his own life at just 25. The cycle of pain, loss, and tragedy didn't end with Dana. It lived on in her family. Dana Plato's story isn't just about fame and downfall. It's about survival, about a woman who tried again and again to rise, even as the world pushed her down. She was fragile, but she was also fierce. She made mistakes, but she kept fighting. And while her life ended in tragedy, her courage remains unforgettable. She didn't just play Kimberly Drummond. She was Kimberly, caring, kind, protective, and human. And maybe that's why fans still mourn her, because behind the scandals, the arrests, the headlines, was a woman who simply wanted to be loved. She didn't just act on Diff'rent Strokes. She lived a life of laughter, heartbreak, and survival. A story that proves fame is not always fortune. What part of Dana Plato's story shocked you the most? Was it her fall from stardom, her desperate robbery, or her heartbreaking end? And if you thought this story was powerful, wait until you hear the untold truth of another star who was lost far too soon.